In every era of human civilization, royal courts stood as the shining centers of power. Kings wore their crowns in daylight, queens displayed their elegance in gold halls, and empires paraded their authority across continents. But behind those brilliant chambers, beyond the polished marble floors and guarded corridors, there existed another world, a world of whispers, symbols, coded messages, and shadowed figures who operated at night. These were the secret societies, the unseen architects, the brotherhoods, and mystic orders that silently shaped kingdoms, dynasties, and even entire empires. History books teach us about kings, queens, and generals, but little do they mention the men and women who never held a throne, yet held the power to build or destroy one. They did not wear crowns, but they influenced those who did. They did not rule from thrones, but from shadows. And for centuries, it was their hidden networks that guided decisions, manipulated alliances, and determined succession long before the public ever knew. Tonight, we bring you into this forgotten world where knowledge was power, secrecy was survival, and influence was a silent weapon sharper than any sword. Welcome to the realm of the unseen rulers of the night. The story begins in ancient Egypt, where priesthoods served not only as religious authorities, but as secretive power brokers. The priests of Amun, for instance, controlled incredible wealth and knowledge that even pharaohs feared. They preserved sacred texts, performed rituals that only they understood, and communicated in coded hieroglyphs that kept outsiders ignorant. When pharaohs rose or fell, the priesthood often stood behind those shifts, quietly supporting one heir over another. What the world saw as divine will was often a carefully orchestrated political maneuver, orchestrated by powerful priests working in the shadows. As time flowed forward, another type of brotherhood emerged in Persia. The Magi, known to many as mystic scholars, were more than astrologers or priests. They were advisors who interpreted stars, omens, and dreams for the Persian kings. Royal decisions such as when to wage war, whom to marry, or how to rule, were often influenced by the interpretations of these mysterious figures. Their knowledge of astronomy and mathematics gave them a sacred aura, and kings often deferred to their predictions. The Magi created a monopoly on information, one that shaped the course of Persian dynasties without ever stepping onto the battlefield. But the power of secret societies was not limited to ancient worlds. In medieval Europe, a new type of shadow network emerged, one built not on magic, but on knowledge and order. The Knights Templar, for example, began as a military order sworn to protect pilgrims, but soon evolved into one of the most powerful financial institutions in the world. Their vast network of castles, fortresses, and treasuries created a system that rivaled even European kings. Monarchs borrowed money from them, feared their influence, and sometimes conspired against them. Behind closed doors, Templar leaders were rumored to engage in secret rituals, symbolic ceremonies, and oaths that bound members to absolute loyalty. Whether those rumors were exaggerated or not, the impact of the Brotherhood was undeniable. For over 2 centuries, the Templars operated as a sovereign power within kingdoms, influencing crusades, politics, and royal finances. And when King Philip IV of France felt threatened by their economic strength, he orchestrated their destruction, an event that added even more mystery to their legacy. Across the Islamic world, another powerful network quietly shaped courts and caliphates, the Hashashin, often remembered as the assassins. Unlike other societies driven by knowledge or wealth, their influence came through fear, strategy, and precision. From hidden mountain fortresses, their leaders selected targets carefully, powerful generals, governors, and even kings. What made them terrifying was not their violence alone, but their message, that no ruler was beyond their reach. Many royal decisions, alliances, and treaties were influenced by the mere fear of the Hashashin's silent reach. While Europe feared assassins and whispered about the Templars, the East was also experiencing its own dance of shadows. In China, scholar societies such as the White Lotus and the Heaven and Earth Society operated under the facade of spiritual groups. In reality, many of them held tremendous power in court politics. They influenced imperial examinations, shaped administrative appointments, and sometimes even orchestrated rebellions that toppled dynasties. Their internal communications relied on coded scripts, symbols, and secret signs that allowed them to operate under the nose of imperial authorities. Even the Japanese imperial court felt the influence of silent forces. The Yurei practitioners. Onmyuji and shadow clans of the samurai world often held secret knowledge of divination, astronomy, and psychological warfare. Some emperors believed their guidance was essential for maintaining cosmic balance, giving these mystic figures access to the highest royal chambers. But perhaps no network rivaled the power of the Illuminati and Freemasons, groups whose influence reached into the courts of Europe during the Enlightenment era. Their focus on knowledge, liberty, and rationalism shaped powerful intellectual movements that directly challenged the authority of kings. Many European monarchs feared these societies because they could spread ideas faster than armies could march. Some princes and nobles were secretly members, using the societies to expand their influence, gather intelligence, and form alliances without attracting suspicion. Secret lodges were places where men of all ranks, princes, generals, scientists, and wealthy merchants, Mithasa equals, but beneath that equality lay a strategic advantage. Private networks that kings could not control. These societies indirectly shaped revolutions, royal reforms, and political ideologies that redefined the modern world. Royal courts were not just influenced from outside. Some secret societies existed inside palaces themselves, made up of royal advisors, court ladies, eunuchs, or personal guard units. One powerful example comes from the Ottoman Empire, where the imperial harem was not merely a place of royal women, but a political machine working behind curtains. The valid sultan, mother of the reigning sultan, often controlled access to the throne room, negotiated political alliances, and sometimes chose which child would ascend the throne. She relied on networks of eunuchs, servants, and confidants, an internal secret society that shaped the empire for centuries. At the same time, alchemists, astrologers, and mystics moved through royal European courts, influencing kings like Rudolph II of Bohemia, Catherine de' Medici of France, and Elizabeth I of England. Their predictions, formulas, and mystical experiments gave them an aura of otherworldly knowledge. Some were charlatans, while others were genuinely brilliant scientists hidden under mystical titles. But all held subtle influence. Kings consulted them on everything from military campaigns to royal marriages, fearing that ignoring their advice could anger unseen forces. Even in Africa, secret societies such as the Leopard Society, the Boro, and the SEP shaped the political systems of kingdoms. These societies trained future kings, governed law and order, and enforced social structures. They operated under strict secrecy, using masks, rituals, and oaths that reinforced their power. Many African rulers relied on them to legitimize their authority, making their influence undeniable. But what united all these groups, across continents and centuries, was not magic or superstition. It was the understanding that true power does not always shine. True power sometimes whispers. True power hides behind curtains, speaks through symbols, and influences decisions before they are ever announced. The greatest kings in history often ruled only in name. The real power lay with those who advised them, funded them, protected them, or terrified them. These secret societies created networks of loyalty deeper than family ties, knowledge more guarded than royal treasures, and influence that reached into the deepest corners of empires. Some worked for stability. Others sought chaos. Some aided kings. Others overthrew them. But all of them played a role in shaping history in ways most people never realized. If you could travel back in time and enter any royal court, from the pharaoh's palaces to the Forbidden City, from medieval castles to Renaissance kingdoms, you would find more than thrones and crowns. You would find coded messages passed behind silk curtains. You would find advisors whose eyes understood things they never said aloud. You would find alliances formed in candlelit chambers at midnight. And you would find that many of the kings we praise and many of the queens we celebrate were not always the true rulers. Because history as we know it has two layers, the one written in books and the one written in shadows. Even today, the influence of secret societies continues. Modern governments, corporations, and political institutions have their own networks, privé groups that discuss ideas and make decisions away from public eyes. They may not wear robes or chant in hidden chambers, but the concept remains the same. Influence thrives where secrecy exists. As we look back at history, We discover that empires rose not just through armies and conquests, but through whispers, symbols, and silent strategies. The real architects of civilization were not always seated on thrones. They might have been scholars holding ancient manuscripts, warriors trained in secret arts, mystics reading the stars, or brotherhoods bound by oaths of loyalty. In every age, these rulers of the night left fingerprints on the world even if their names never made it into the textbooks. Their influence shaped royal courts, guided dynasties, triggered wars, and in some cases, prevented them. They stood at the edge of darkness, pulling strings that few ever noticed. And now, centuries later, we are left with a haunting truth. History's greatest puppet masters were often invisible. The next time you read about a king's decision, a queen's rise to power, or an empire's collapse, remember that the truth may not be as simple as it seems. Behind every throne, there may have been a shadow. Behind every royal proclamation, a whisper. Behind every dynasty, a secret society shaping it from the dark. These were the rulers of the night, the hidden architects of history, whose influence still echoes through time.